The transport vessel Crimson Dawn shuddered as it descended through the atmosphere of Kragener Prime, humanity's newest diplomatic outpost in the outer reaches. Lieutenant Miles Carrington gripped his rifle tighter, watching the alien landscape unfold below jagged mountains of obsidian glass and valleys choked with bioluminescent vegetation that pulsed like a living heartbeat. "Remember the briefing, Captain Harriet." Joe's voice crackled through the comm. "The Kraganathi are our allies now. Treaty was signed 3 months ago. We're here to establish trust, not start another war." Miles nodded, though unease twisted in his gut. The Kraganathi, or Orcs as the grunts called them, had been humanity's fiercest opponents. During the border conflicts, 7-foot-tall warriors with tusks like daggers and skin the color of weathered stone. They'd earned their reputation through brutal efficiency in combat. The ceasefire had come suddenly, mysteriously, and many in the Terran Defense Force still didn't trust it. The ship touched down in the capital city of Verthallen, a sprawling metropolis of carved stone and hammered metal that somehow merged ancient aesthetics with advanced technology. As the boarding ramp lowered, Miles caught his first glimpse of actual Kraganathi citizens, merchants hawking wares, children playing in the streets, warriors in ceremonial armor standing guard. "Column formation," Harriet ordered, leading her squad of 20 soldiers into the city. They were meant to meet with the Kraganathi War Council, a diplomatic formality to cement the treaty. Simple, routine. The crowd parted before them, alien eyes tracking their movement with mixed curiosity and suspicion. Miles felt exposed despite his combat armor, aware that they were vastly outnumbered in a city of millions. That's when he saw her. An orc woman stood at a merchant stall, examining what looked like intricate jewelry. She was shorter than most Kraganathi, perhaps 6 feet tall, with copper-toned skin and dark hair braided with silver thread. Unlike the warriors they'd encountered, she wore simple traveling clothes, a worn leather vest and practical trousers. Nothing remarkable, nothing threatening. She stepped backward from the stall, directly into the path of Private Jackson, who was scanning the rooftops for threats. "Move." Jackson barked, shoving her aside with the butt of his rifle. The woman stumbled, catching herself against the stone wall. The market went silent. "Jackson, stand down." Harriet snapped, but the damage was done. The orc woman straightened slowly, brushing dust from her vest. Her eyes, startling amber in color, fixed on Jackson with an expression Miles couldn't quite read. Not anger, something else, something calculating. "My apologies," she said in perfect Terran standard, her voice low and measured. "I did not mean to obstruct your patrol." "Yeah, well, watch where you're going," Jackson muttered, already moving on. But the crowd wasn't moving on. Kraganathi citizens were backing away, their expressions shifting from curiosity to something approaching horror. Warriors who'd been standing casual watch suddenly snapped to attention, hands moving to weapons. "Captain," Miles said quietly, "something's wrong." Harriet had noticed it too. The entire market square was freezing, as if someone had pressed pause on reality itself. Then, from a side street, a contingent of heavily armored Kraganathi warriors appeared, moving with urgent purpose. Their leader, a massive warrior with scarred tusks and gold-chased armor, approached the woman Jackson had pushed. He dropped to one knee, fist pressed to chest. "Warchief for Hala," he rumbled. "We received word of your presence in the market. We did not know we would have provided escort, Warchief." The word hit Miles like a physical blow. The woman Verhala waved a dismissive hand. "I required no escort for a simple errand, Commander Throck. Please, rise." Harriet's face had gone pale beneath her helmet. Miles knew why. During the border conflicts, one name had been whispered with reverence and terror in equal measure: Warchief Verhala, the Unbreakable, who had shattered 3 Terran battle groups at the siege of Crimson Gate, who had personally killed Admiral Hendricks in single combat, who had been the architect of humanity's most devastating defeats. And Jackson had just shoved her into a wall. "My deepest apologies, Warchief," Harriet said, stepping forward and removing her helmet. "My soldier acted inappropriately. He will be disciplined." Verhala's amber eyes shifted to Harriet, studying her with an intensity that made Miles's instincts scream. The Warchief was silent for a long moment, and Miles could see warriors in the crowd tensing. hands drifting toward weapons. Then Verhala smiled, a slight quirk of her lips that somehow made her more terrifying. "Captain Joe," she said, and Harriet's eyes widened at being recognized. "I know your service record. You commanded the defense of Firebase Zeta. You held against impossible odds." She paused. "You lost 300 soldiers that day. I lost 400. The market square was deathly quiet. Your soldier," Verhala continued, gesturing toward Jackson, "acted from instinct and training. He saw a potential threat and neutralized it. This is the mark of a warrior, however misplaced in this context." She stepped forward, her presence somehow filling the entire square despite her relatively modest stature. "But understand this, Captain. The treaty between our peoples was not signed because humanity defeated us. It was signed because I chose to end the war." She let those words hang in the air. "I ended the war," Verhala said, "because I saw in humanity what my own people sometimes forget. That strength is not only in the blade, but in the choice of when to sheath it. You fight with desperation and creativity. You adapt. You survive against impossible odds." Her eyes swept across the human soldiers. "These are qualities the Kraganathi respect." She turned to Jackson directly. "You, soldier, you acted to protect your commander and your squad. This is honorable, but you are not on a battlefield now. You are in my city, among my people, who are now meant to be your allies. Learn to know the difference." Jackson, to his credit, met her gaze. "Yes, ma'am. My apologies," Verhala nodded, then turned back to Harriet. "The War Council awaits you, Captain. I will personally escort your delegation. Perhaps we can discuss how to ensure incidents like this do not happen again." As the war chief led them through the city, Miles walked beside Harriet, who leaned close. "We just dodged a bullet the size of a planet," she muttered. "Why did she let it go?" Miles asked. Harriet glanced at Verhala's back, at the way warriors and civilians alike parted before her with reverence. "Because she's everything the report said. Powerful enough that she doesn't need to prove it. Smart enough to turn an incident into an opportunity." She paused. "And maybe, just maybe, because she meant what she said. About the treaty, about peace." Miles considered this, watching the war chief navigate the streets of her city with casual authority, occasionally stopping to speak with citizens, to adjust a merchant's display, to ruffle a child's hair, the most powerful person in the kingdom. And they'd pushed her into a wall. Humanity had gotten lucky. But more than that, they'd been given a second chance by someone who could have crushed them, but chose instead to extend her hand. Miles made a mental note to never, ever take that choice for granted.